Coming soon to a dealership near you in the galaxy, there is the concept of having a parts counter person in the shop to help with what happens in fixed operations. And we are very humbled today to welcome a panel of experts, and that includes Sean Parrott, who is the parts manager at Mercedes Benz in Farmington, in Utah. We have James Holloway, who is the after sales business development manager at the Swickard Automotive Group in the state of Washington. And we have Sean Kingery, who is the fixed operations director at Step One Automotive Group based in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Gentlemen, welcome and thank you so much. What prompted this panel is a post that Sean Parrott had on LinkedIn. And I'll go ahead and I'll put Sean Parrott, the graphic up, the picture that you posted from your dealership. And it got everybody's attention in terms of, boy, here's something new that's happening. And Sean Parrott, kind of take us through this and what's happening in this picture and give us some of the background, if you would.
Okay, so we have about 15 techs in our shop. We have one person currently stationed out into our shop that handles about 95% of all our service ROs. What he does is, at the time being, it looks like they might be coming up to get parts. We kind of pull our parts for technicians. That's the shelf that's on the right of the screen. Left, we have a lot of our fast moving inventory. But what he does is he goes over every RO that there's any type of question on. So something other than a technician requests a maintenance item, brake pads or rotors or something like that, they basically confirm with the technician either in their bay, or sometimes the guys will come over. If they know they just put the request in, they'll come over and confirm everything that they need for the job.
Sean Parrott, what prompted you to take this action and how did this all come about?
We had a few inexperienced technicians as well as inexperienced parts counter people, and we had a high number of errors and also, wrong part received or wrong part ordered, and also not enough parts to do each individual job. And there's a lot of instances also where the job itself evolves, where we could have did a job a month ago. There's a new bulletin, new way Mercedes-Benz wants the job to be done, or what parts have to be replaced. A lot of one-time use only bolts and things like that. So we decided it's a lot of work for the technician to take the technician out of their bay into the parts department to go over the ROs. Also, it took a lot to get the parts counter person off their chair to go into the shop and find a technician. And we got that cue from the restaurant industry, where a waiter will come to your desk or where you're eating and basically go over everything that you need, or that, hey, what are you ordering? You're ordering a steak with what type of vegetables do you want? Okay, you want potatoes, you want green beans, what kind of drink do you have? How do you want your steak? They go over everything before they leave, and they actually confirm before they go back and put it with the cook. So we wanted the same kind of treatment in the shop. So anytime there's any type of questions as a part, what parts you need, or what side, what left or right, or any other questions they have, they basically confirm it before they submit the request in our ASR system.
And Sean, I imagine there would be some potential resistance to this move. Tell us what that could have been and how you handled that as well.
Well, we had a little bit of resistance at first because it's like anything else. You're trying something new for the first time. The parts advisors had to get into the routine of actually going out and visiting with the technicians. The technicians had to get used to before it's just kind of, you put the request in, you go pull the next car and you go to the next job. So what happens is now the technicians has got used to, okay, I'm going to either wait here for a moment, or, hey, I just put this request in. I'm going to beat the parts advisor to my bay. I'm going to go up there and just talk with him, say, hey, I just put this request in. This is everything I need. So it's worked on both ends, and it didn't really take much resistance. We have a very good crew here. Okay. So it just took basically everybody getting used to it.
James Holloway, you and I talked about this for a little bit, and give us some of your observations and your thoughts on it, your perspective.
Well, going back in time, I was a parts manager at a dealership that we had room for approximately 50 techs. And at the time, I had probably 3 to 4 parts advisors just doing the back parts counter. And we found out that we could gain a lot of efficiency in servicing the technicians. Number one, by them submitting a parts request to the parts advisor at the back parts counter. And then from there, and the great thing about this, Ted, is everything was timestamped. So we had documentation because I made the advisors save their parts requests from the technicians, and if there, in case there was a discrepancy. But we had, depending on how busy we were, anywhere from 1 to 2 parts pickers. And we did not have the parts advisors out on the shop, but we did have the pickers. And so what happened was, is it kept the parts advisors at their desk doing what they're doing. They're preparing price and availability for the service advisors so they can sell. So the parts pickers would grab the parts picking ticket, and that had a timestamp on it as well. So now we can see, well, how much was the time elapsed between the time that the parts request came in versus the time that it went out the door. And so the parts pickers would, and this is a kind of an important thing, I had the parts picking ticket print in a sequence that would prevent them from zigzagging back and forth throughout the parts department, because we had a couple of floors. Sometimes I had to go upstairs to go find something. I didn't want to go there twice, that. And they would take the parts out to the technician. And at the time, we had a lot of warranty business. And, I had a person whose sole job was to, log in every day, make sure that we were sending back the parts that Mercedes asked for, or scrapping the parts that we were told to scrap. But at the same time, that person would go out into the bays and make sure and retrieve those parts and make sure that the parts had the appropriate documentation for testing and things of that nature. So it takes an investment of people, but it's worth the trade-off in time savings and efficiency.
I love it. Sean Kingery, I see you have been patiently waiting, and I know you head up a very big organization with a lot of folks working for you. And I couldn't help but notice, I think your parts director is going to make sure that your replies and your answers today are in uniform with what you're telling the organization. So I'm curious about your thoughts.
He is. Don is in the office with me as well. On my side of the house, and again, being a fixed ops director, but more of a service guy than a parts guy, for me, this is a completely different idea where it's twofold, really. We'll talk about Fix First Visit, where we have 6 Stellantis or 6 FCA stores, where Fix First Visit pays such a high price now, and it's such a big piece of our CSI, and it contributes money for sales on the back end side and the front end side. The second thing it does is it keeps the technicians off that back parts counter, which is like once they close that door, they go in the abyss and they sit back there for 45 minutes. A, because it's usually air conditioned and the shop's not. And B, because we got to tell everybody what we did this weekend and what we're going to do for the next 2 weeks. So for me, Sean Parrott, I think it's a great idea. When Don and I discussed it this morning, I didn't get things thrown at me. Let's put it that way. So it was a good idea. I love the idea. I think it's great. I see the advantage of it. I do wonder how you talk the parts guy, and this isn't meant to be negative, but how you talk that parts guy to get out of his comfort zone to go into the shop where, quite frankly, it's not air conditioned. It's really not their friendly environment, because a tech and a parts guy are 2 different people. But, Sean, I challenge that question back to you. How did you pick, or do you rotate it, or is it one specific person that does it?
No, we have one specific person that does it. The biggest thing for us is it starts at the top. We have extremely good culture here at our dealership. So there's not a separation of departments, whether it's sales, service, or parts. There's not a real big separation of departments. And it was pretty much, the guys, when they make mistakes, they get the feedback too. Nobody wants to make a mistake. Nobody likes to hear that they made a mistake. Nobody wants to lose the confidence of the technicians. And that's a big thing for us. That's one of the things you can't put on paper, is the confidence that our technicians have in our parts department. So it was actually an easy conversation. It was just putting the desk out there, rearranging the shelves, things like that. But putting the person in there, actually, it wasn't that hard. We have a good group of guys, like I say, working here. So they got along well between the 2 departments. And like I said, I don't think it was hard at all.
Okay. My next question would be, my hope would be, just thinking through this and thinking the long term, is maybe it would help on my side of the house, is that so you got a parts guy, not to put the parts guy in the middle of it in a bad situation, but then you got a parts guy who knows that tech never raised the hood, never diagnosed the car, and they're back there guessing in the Not that it ever happens, but the tech's now at the back parts counter guessing, hey, I need this widget when they never even looked at the car. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, but we don't really do it here. We do a good job of diagnosing vehicles. Um, we kind of started fresh a few years ago. Being a new point helped starting fresh, but we had a lot of newer guys that this is the first dealership that they worked on, so they don't have bad habits of that. And we do a ton of training. Like I said, we push culture in there. Every day they they're trained well, and they have their own pride. So we just don't have somebody just pulling a car in saying, hey, we think it needs this. They look at the car, they diagnose it. And like I said, the main reason they go over with the parts advisor is because they want to make sure they're doing the job completely. Because the technician is the one looking at the LI bulletin to look at the repair instructions. Our parts guy's not.
Right.
And that's how they just want to make sure, hey, I know you know what this part is, but did you know they have one-time use only bolts on it? And the thing I just wanted to put out in here is this is the unforeseen thing is, so we look at our composites. Every manufacturer has it, every 20 group has it. They're always a top 20% of all dealerships. That's your composite goal. We're almost double in parts on repair orders as our composite goal. I mean, the number is $360. We're at $607 through this year. Our numbers are comparable last year. So it's not that we're basically gouging or just throwing a whole bunch of parts on a ticket, but it's the unforeseen parts that most people realize that they weren't billing out or not needed. So that's another deal when you're averaging, almost $250 something per repair order and additional dollars.
Sean Parrott, go back to that for a moment. Give us some background, because here's that word, James, culture coming up again, right?
Yes.
Sean, give us the lay of the land. Tell us about your dealership, Sean. How many technicians? How many advisors? Give us some background.
A little bit background on dealership. One thing that stands out for everybody: we're open 5 days a week. We're open Tuesday through Saturday, 50 hours in parts and service, few extra hours in service. So everybody in our dealership, from technician, parts manager to service manager, we're off on Sundays and Mondays. So we get 2 days in a row every week. I have a small staff. At any given time, I have myself as a manager. I have an assistant manager who basically handles production, assists in wholesale, assists in the shop, assists wherever he's needed. He handles the day-to-day operations. We have a person that handles pretty much retail and wholesale, takes the phone calls. We have one service person in our shop, and we have a parts driver. We just got our first quarter numbers. We're 7th out of 135 Western District dealerships for wholesale. We're doing the numbers in service. Like I said, we're averaging, $600 a repair order for just, customer pay parts. So we don't have a big team we work with, or just people just running around doing stuff. But we found a very efficient way to handle every situation.
And James, I know you and I have talked in the past. I don't know too many dealerships that are closed on Monday, yet this seems to work out extremely well for Sean's dealership, and the numbers are there as well. James, there was a technician, Marco Zwanenberg, that's been on the program a number of times, and he talked about some of the out-of-the-box thinking, like maybe that shorter work week and things of that sort. James, what do you think about things like that moving forward in the parts landscape?
We all know parts and service goes hand in hand. Okay, we're there to support the service department, and as far as days off, like I think it's great, having Sundays and Mondays off, because my favorite saying, or one of my own favorite sayings, is we cannot pour from an empty cup, right? We have to be able to rest and recharge, mentally recharge, spend time with our families, do whatever it is that fills us up before we go back to work and give it our all and run the marathon and cross the finish line every week. I love that idea. And it's, by the way, I think that's how some of the technicians avoid burnout, or the parts people, or anybody else that works at the dealership. I think it's great.
And James, all the things you're saying are running contrary to what historically, has been the retail automotive business.
It's true. But, things are changing, Ted. We know this. And I've seen this time and time again at a lot of dealerships. I mean, the demand has never been so high, and the resources and bandwidth has never been so low. So there's a fine line that, we have to take care of our employees and their well-being. And when I say their well-being, I am a big proponent of mental health, because let's face it, out in the shop, of course, it's going to be more physical, but for the parts people, a little bit more mental. But we got to take care of both the physical and the mental side of what we do, because these are the people that are taking care of our customers, right? And it falls hand in hand with the culture of, of what Sean's trying to do, or what any dealer's trying to do, is, we take care of our employees so they can take care of the customer. And it's a full circle.
Mr. Kingery, you and I have had a number of discussions about, our personal well-being, working in dealerships. And, let's face it, after all the years that, all of us here today on this panel, this is sort of like a mini 20 group here, hearing from different parts of the country and things that are happening. Sean, what are some of your thoughts? Because some of these things, were unheard of, even a few years ago.
Right. And, Ted, you and I had a one-off just the other day about Marco's comments and the feedback that he got on LinkedIn. We're going back to the fact that, you guys can't keep abusing us. We can't work 6 and 7 days a week. We can't work double shifts, split shifts, whatever. And how the business has changed in my 28 years of doing this, where when you got in the business, you worked 70 hours a week. That's just what you did. It was the norm. Right. And it's changed. I think that, again, with the millennials and everything else that's happened, A, they won't do it. But B, as we all know, you can't do it. There's jokes on all Facebook posts. I'm going to retire when I have a heart attack and die, and there's some truth to that. But Sean's speech about going to 4 days a week is a thought, or a 5-day work week, Tuesday through Saturday. Because of COVID, and that was a reaction. They stuck with it, but his numbers haven't suffered. Again, it's thinking outside the box. It's definitely a culture shift change. Again, Marco opened my eyes. Sean Parrott, you opened my eyes to it, to be very honest. That's not something I wouldn't have thought about before. I don't know how you sold a dealer principal on it. I think that would be a unique situation. And Ted happens to know my dealer principal. And, going to Fernando, hey, by the way, we're going to close on Mondays. Yeah, that'd be a fun speech to have. But, hey, I'm up for trying it once.
So, Sean Parrott, kind of take us through that. Take us through how your employees have reacted. How is management? How is the leadership, even above you? How have they reacted? And what was their, maybe what was their initial impression? And what about now?
We actually do it for our whole group. We're 12 strong in our dealership group. And we were kind of looking at.
Sean, is that 12 dealerships, 12 stores?
Yes, we're 12 stores.
And what franchises do you have?
Sean, what franchises? So I'll put it in order. We started out with 3 in Denver. We were Mini, Honda, BMW. We were the 4th here in Utah just over 5 years ago. Then we went to, we got a Subaru, Hyundai, Mazda, BMW, another one in California, Ford, Nissan, and then we just got announced a Volkswagen franchise also in California.
Okay. Wow.
So we've added 7 in the last 5 years. And how we came to that conclusion is, when we realized what we were going to do, the biggest thing when COVID hit was none of us knew how long it was going to last. We always joked that we didn't know if 6 months later it'd be like The Walking Dead or something like here, where there's no food and stuff like that. So we had to do it. The best thing is, what can we do that the dealership survives? At the end of the day, we have to make sure the dealership survives. So we went over different ideas. And the one thing we knew, that we were going to either lose people, or we would have to lay off people. It just had to happen. And we said, well, we're just going to have to close a week. There's no way we can keep open the amount of hours. So not only did we lose 1 day of our work week, we cut about 20 hours off of our work week also. So we shortened our hours. We were open from 7 to 7 every night. Now we're open 8 to 6. And then we just kept it when we realized that little things is like, we really didn't lose any car sales. We didn't do many car sales on Mondays, and those people had the appointments on Mondays. We just set them for Tuesdays, and we kind of worked around our customers. Saturdays, there was a lot of work we didn't do on Saturdays. It was just 3 or 4 guys in our shop that did maintenances, because you didn't want to get to a check engine light. You didn't want to do all these things on a Saturday. Now we do everything Tuesday through Saturday. We found a way to get our VOR parts on a Friday on a Saturday morning delivery instead of getting here on Monday. So we did all those things basically in the beginning to survive. And now we look at it as it's the best thing we ever did for the dealership. I mean, everybody, especially for salespeople will tell you, I've never in my career had 2 back-to-back days off every week unless I took a vacation. Now there's none of this, oh, your advisor's not here today. He's off until, because he works Saturday. Or, hey, my car got dropped off on a Saturday and never got looked at. Now it's back here on Monday call. So like I said, we did it in the beginning to survive, but it's the best decision we ever did. I mean, it's worked out for us and the customers.
And Sean Parrott, what is the name of your dealer group?
Oh, Shump.
The Champ Dealer Group. So
Yeah.
I imagine, Sean Parrott, sometime right after this panel, you're going to be getting a lot of an influx of folks who perhaps want to relocate and come to work for you and come at your store because, this sounds, I can relate to those not having those, James, those 2 consecutive days off. And James, again, it comes back to culture and the out of the box thinking that, a lot of the things like Sean Parrott is telling us started with COVID and now have, forever changed the way we're going to do business.
I have to say one thing. This is a great example of quality over quantity. And, Sean said it, his numbers are up. The proof is in the numbers. What difference does it make how many hours you're open? As long as we're getting the job done and everyone's winning, to me, that's what it's all about.
James, I got to ask Sean Parrott another question. What about your customers? What's their reaction been, to not being open, for example, on a Monday?
Originally, they're kind of like, I think because they didn't know what's going on. They're like, well, you guys are closed on Monday. Even our competitors, we've had competitors of ours going, well, that's your first step in going out of business, So our customers had to get used to it. I'm like James, I'm a big wholesale guy. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to lose my business. I'm going to lose XYZ customers. And then our customers, we just realized they want to deal with us. It doesn't matter if they did, like I get guys called like, okay, we'll just call you back on Tuesday. We'll just tell our customers we can't get Mercedes-Benz parts. And we do have 2 competitors. One is 14 miles away. The other is about 20 some miles away. Our customers, unless it's an emergency, they got to have it. They just call us on Tuesday. We do a lot of, we started doing is something different too for the wholesale market is we deliver on Saturdays. We know a lot of these places now, they ordered a part on Friday. That was the part they're waiting to on Monday. We deliver it to them on Saturday. Or if they're not even open on Saturdays, they have an area for us to set the parts. So instead of them waiting for us to deliver them during the day on Monday, they got those parts to them on Saturday. So now they get their customers' cars back a little bit earlier than most dealerships can get their parts to them.
Wow. And Sean, the reflection in your wholesale business, what's the results been there?
Well, we always joke here. We have monthly meetings. We call them town halls. And we always joke that in parts, we always have record months. That's the biggest thing every month. Hey, it's not once in a while we have a record month. We always have record months. And for us, we've grown our business. Like I said, we do the Saturday deliveries. We just got our first quarter numbers. We're 7th out of 135 Mercedes-Benz dealerships. So we've actually grown our wholesale. We're able to take care of our customers more because now we're supplying to them 5 days a week instead of trying to get 6 days a week out of them. And because our parts driver actually only works 4 days a week. So his hours, because it's a Tuesday through Friday schedule, he actually has longer hours to deliver. It's not that, our guy, he gets off at 4 because he's working 40 hours a week. He's able to stretch his time in those 4 days. Then on Saturday, because we necessarily don't have the wholesale phone calls, myself or anybody here, we actually can deliver on Saturdays. And that's one of our days that we actually go out and visit our shops and speak to them when we're out on Saturdays.
Mr. Kingery, I got to tell you something about this Champ Automotive Group. A number of years ago, quite a few years ago, on the sales side, Sean Kingery, they went to a one price model where they sell their vehicles for one price. And then after a period of time, they changed that model to one price, one person. What does that mean? Well, that means that you're going to deal with one person the entire sales process, and that includes the finance process. No TO to the F&I or a business manager. It's one person. And then they added a final leg of the stool, which is they will do the entire process for the customer in 1 hour. So one price, one person, 1 hour. And let me tell you, Sean Kingery, a lot of folks said, that's the first step in them going out of business. But guess what? That has proven to be a huge success with that different thinking, Sean Kingery.
Wow. I had never heard that before. So, and Sean, I'm going to put that back on you. And Ted had already asked the question. I mean, honestly, and again, I love that sales approach, especially since it would put my wife out of business. Anyway, James and Sean, for those that don't know, my wife's the finance director for the group. But so Sean, what was the feedback on the CSI? I mean, I got the customers. Oh, that's your first step out of business. You guys are on a bunch of Tuesdays. Do you get the comments? Because again, I've had a Mercedes franchise in the past. What was your feedback on the surveys?
I can tell you this: we were in a situation where we'd probably miss about every third, fourth month. We miss our CSI goals. I can't tell you when we haven't hit CSI here, because the number one thing comes down is communication.
Right.
So when your person drops off the car, they don't know when they're going to get a phone call. That's when you have bad CSI. If a person understands you're closed on Mondays, people get it. People already get you're closed on Sundays. Okay. People understand that. And allowing us to finish the car, you know how it starts off, you set most of your appointments come in heavy during the beginning of the week.
Of course.
And then they teeter off on Friday and Saturday. So now we've taken that where a lot of people, they get their cars back for the weekend. And we, like I said, having the people here that many hours are not burned out. Our communication is up. And I can tell you this, we haven't felt it being closed on Mondays affecting our CSI, because it hasn't affected our communication to the customer.
Now, does your sales department do the same thing? Are they also closed on Sunday and Monday?
Sunday, Monday, everybody here, like I said, I'm here on Mondays by myself. If I'm here, I might come in for paperwork, but they are closed Tuesday. I'm sorry, we are closed Sunday, Monday. They work from Tuesday through Saturday. They're just here a little bit later. So they come in a little bit later than us, and they stay a little bit later.
Wow.
But it's also, this is something here. Our turnaround time for our cars through the shop, used cars, has gone up. We just finished 1 point something, and that's from check-in, getting the car traded in, to us out, going through detail through the shop, everything. We're 1.6 or 1.8 days turnaround time, where industry average is like 3 to 5 if you're great. We're getting that done too, because cars getting traded in, everybody's here to do the job. So if we get a car traded in on a Friday, we got all the parts, we get everything through the shop, we got that car selling here on a Saturday.
Hey, Sean, there are a lot of dealer principals that watch this show. You're going to make a lot of fixed ops enemies by that statement you just made, just so you know. That 1 to 3 days with that, you're going to make some enemies there, buddy.
Yeah.
James, I think I counted about 6 or 7 best practices and some of the things that we just heard from Sean that really turned the industry on its edge.
Yeah, I mean, if we always do what we always did, we'll always get what we always got, right? And I applaud the Schomp Automotive Group for thinking outside of the box and doing what they need to do to, number one, take care of their customers, take care of their employees. It just goes to show you that it can be done. And I've known Sean for a while now, and I know that he's all about the business. Yep. And I know that if there's something that works, and by the way, thanks for sharing to the roundtable. If there's something that works, I think a lot of people would want to know about it. So yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And you're right, James. And Sean Parrott, thank you so much. Sean Parrott, I'm gonna have to invite you back and extend an invitation to you, and perhaps maybe at the next roundtable, we have some of the folks from within your department and within your group to talk about a little bit more, because I think this is something we're going to hear a lot about now moving forward. So, Sean Parrott, I want to thank you so much for giving us this information.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. So stay tuned for more. We have a whole lot and great information. And I want to thank the panel, James Holloway from the Swickard Automotive Group, Sean Kingery from the Step One Automotive Group, both great friends of the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Thank you. And Sean Parrott, great friend of the Fixed Ops Roundtable as well. Sean Parrott, James Holloway, and Sean Kingery here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks, Ted.
Thank you.
Thank you.